Here we are at the precipice of new horizons. Contrary to what some sections of the internet would have you believe, Microsoft is not bowing out of the console space at all. I mean, why would it after sinking over $80 billion in the last few years, yeah? But a couple of weeks ago, we discussed the mid-gen console that PlayStation are going to release with the PlayStation 5 Pro and its specs. But now Microsoft appears to have a very different set of plans altogether. So what is this new machine going to be? We're at what seems like the halfway point of this generation and we're already talking about next gen? Is there any point in this new machine? Why on earth is Xbox even trying to compete in a space where it's getting dominated, according to some, by PlayStation? I discuss all this and more. So what is this new machine going to be? Well, we're able to piece together where Xbox is quite clearly heading with the new generation of hardware based on a combination of internal email correspondence and express statements by heads of Xbox, courtesy of Jez Corden and his article on Windows Central, linked in the description below. Don't come for me, Jez! We have had sites of excerpts from an internal email doing the rounds at Microsoft sent by none other than President of Xbox, Sarah Bond, where she states the following. We are moving full speed ahead on our next generation hardware, focusing on delivering the biggest technological leap ever in a generation. This email states exactly what Sarah Bond stated during the Xbox podcast. So what will this new Xbox actually be? Well, we already have some clues. It's obvious that Xbox are very interested in a handheld Xbox. The head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, is a huge fan of them, having purchased the Asus ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, and Steam Deck, and has remarked about how impressed he is with all of them. He also said the following in an interview with Polygon. I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox. I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in full screen but in a compact mode, and all my social experiences there. I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television. Except I want it on all these devices. Now you may be thinking, Gaz, what are you talking about? He's talking about third-party peripherals here. Nope. Phil Spencer explicitly then goes on to state that the Xbox hardware team is considering, and I quote, different hardware form factors and things that they could do as it plans the future of Xbox hardware. What should we build that finds new players, Spencer said, that will allow people to play at times when they couldn't play in the past? What else will allow people to play at times they couldn't go play? It's obviously a handheld mobile device, and most likely it will be a native one at that, which means it's not going to be something that you could cloud stream like the PlayStation Portal. Please, don't make it like that. Interestingly, Spencer goes on to say that he wants to see a similar level of creativity coming to new Xbox hardware like it has done with software. How creative can Xbox even get with hardware? We've seen some really cool touches like with the Lenovo Go and its unique controller that can be used like a mouse, which is handy for first-person games. Do we get to see some, dare I say it, creativity and ingenuity from Microsoft of all companies in the hardware space? Let's see. But where does the new handheld fit into all of this? Handhelds aren't typically the most powerful bits of kit, and if Xbox is really doing a handheld, that kind of strikes at the heart of what Sarah Bond suggested when she talks about
delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation.
Ever seen.
This
is where I'm very intrigued about how Xbox will handle things. Lots of speculators have surmised that this will absolutely suggest a dockable handheld. That once docked would give you much better fidelity, similar to the Nintendo Switch, but take it to another level. But even so, there are big limitations here. Would Xbox risk going down the route of a dual SKU model? Again, similar to the Xbox Series X and S? I think this would be a mistake. Yes, the debate rages on about whether the Series S has held back the Xbox Series X, but it's safe to say that many developers are frustrated by the additional workload presented to them by this dual SKU setup. Also take into account the fact that the Xbox Series X and its power doesn't get leveraged as far as it should do by many developers because they prioritize PlayStation over it. So a dual SKU setup just serves to exacerbate things on that front even more. Another Xbox console, you may say, but they aren't flying off the shelves, and PlayStation is doing so much better that they should just give up, right? So many people from a certain camp were boldly proclaiming, and some still are, that Xbox will not release another console because of the low sales of the Xbox Series S and X. Granted, the actual sales of the series consoles aren't that great, often tracking alongside or even below the Xbox One sales. Is it really that surprising though? Xbox themselves for some reason go out of their way to tell their consumers they don't need to buy an Xbox console, that every screen is a screen. They are on mobile, on PC, and now, courtesy of their latest escapades, even on bloody Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, yeah. But Xbox loses money on hardware as well, so why bother at all? Well, giving up on the console space would frankly be a little bit, stupid. The console space is where Xbox gets most of its Game Pass subscribers. The console space is also where Xbox has some semblance of an appreciable brand. Despite its counterintuitive marketing statements and badly handled messaging, the console for Xbox remains the primary gateway into many living rooms. But that might change. But Xbox has always struggled against PlayStation, so much so that it's now bringing its former exclusives to that platform. Will the same not happen again? Will they not just get murked in sales? Well, this is where things get interesting. It's abundantly clear that Xbox and their executives don't have the appetite to fight PlayStation on a one-to-one basis, even with all the studios and publishers in their arsenal.
We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us.
They just don't have that competitive drive, and their execution has been lacking on several fronts. So, Microsoft, quite naturally, is exploring other avenues to pull people in to their idea of a platform. By the way, that definition of what constitutes an Xbox platform has been enlarged considerably in the last few months. Microsoft needs to do something very different though, and that's where a handheld or a hybrid device could actually be an effective move, especially in areas like Japan. It's clear that Xbox really want to make inroads in this region that has long been oblivious to the Xbox brand, having hired heavyweights such as Mina Kato, along with other moves such as getting Final Fantasy XIV, the Persona games, and more on Xbox. But Japan is a market that actually prefers mobile and handheld devices over native consoles. But the biggest thing this hybrid console would permit Xbox to do is help distinguish it from PlayStation. It desperately needs to do that. And another way to do that, and something that should not be underestimated, is the timing of the launch of this next Xbox. The most successful Xbox generation was the Xbox 360, one where a year's head start made a tremendous difference. It shocked and surprised everyone, including Sony, allowing Xbox to gain massive headway over Sony, especially in the United States and the UK. Now, the industry is very different from those days, so I think that tactic will have less of an impact. But if Xbox releases its next Xbox early, it gets an opportunity to properly market a next-gen Xbox without being eclipsed by the next PlayStation. The PlayStation 5 Pro commits Sony to an even longer generation. Jez Corden in his article confirmed that Xbox are setting up a new department entirely devoted to forward compatibility, which means Xbox is getting primed and ready to release a new console sooner rather than later. Some of you may say that it's a bad look for the Xbox Series generation that will be cut short, but would a 5-year generation really be that bad? Especially when the reality is the fact that cross-generation games will still be a thing for at least 2 years into the release of the next Xbox, and that also applies to the PlayStation 6. Right now, Xbox needs to do something different. It's clear that all this noise about console power hasn't really manifested itself in any meaningful way, and that applies to both Xbox and the PlayStation 5. If you really want power, PC is the place to go, and a lot of people are gravitating towards that there. But some variation in the console space I think is very welcome. And say the Xbox released in 2026. There are a myriad of different studios and projects in development under the Xbox banner now. In a stark contrast to the release of the Xbox Series consoles this generation, Xbox can actually launch the next generation of Xbox backed up by a very strong software suite, irrespective of the timed nature of a lot of the so-called exclusives. I hope Xbox go hard in distinguishing themselves from PlayStation, at least to make things a little bit fresh. I have lost faith in the leadership to compete directly, but at least in this way, we all get something a little bit more varied than the status quo. We're going to start hearing more and more about the next Xbox as the information starts trickling in. I hope that Xbox, despite its leadership's kumbaya attitude, will also want to try and take the wind out of Sony's sails regarding their mid-gen console by releasing a little bit more information a little bit early, either through proxies or otherwise. Are you excited about the next Xbox? Do you think it's way too soon for it to happen? Do you even care for a hybrid or a handheld console? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, please like, share, and subscribe. Safe.